What would happen if I told you that there is a type of bean that delivers a protein content comparable to eggs in each meal, but contains no cholesterol at all and uses only a small fraction of the waterland and energy? The pod is speckled with red and cream, like gemstones scattered on the soil. The seeds inside are smooth and creamy, with a flavor sweet like roasted chestnuts, rich enough that no elaborate seasoning is needed. For thousands of years, it once nourished ancient civilizations in the Indian highlands, then became the soul of rustic Italian meals across generations. But in the whirlwind of modern agriculture, we almost let it disappear, replacing it with bean varieties that are more efficient and more bland. But it never truly left. It was only waiting. This is the story of the cranberry bean, or borlotti, a forgotten bean that could help save a warming world. Welcome back to Forgotten Flora Vault. If stories about forgotten plants that are still full of power move, you please subscribe now, turn on the bell, and share this vault with those who need to remember what we once overlooked. The story of the cranberry bean begins far away on the cold, windswept highlands of the Andes, where soil is thin, rainfall is unpredictable, and life is never guaranteed. Indigenous peoples domesticated Phaseolus vulgaris, the common bean, and among countless varieties, one stood out: Cargamanto, the direct ancestor of today's cranberry bean. Indigenous farmers selected it through wisdom accumulated over many generations. They allowed the bean plants to climb maize stalks in diverse polyculture systems, where each species fulfilled a role. Beans fixed nitrogen, restoring depleted soil. Maize provided structure and wind protection. Squash covered the ground, conserving moisture. Under the harsh conditions of the Andes, the cranberry bean learned to tolerate drought, grow slowly but steadily, and survive through seasons when other plants failed. This was not a technique, it was survival intelligence. Then in the 15th to 16th centuries, after Christopher Columbus reached the Americas, Spanish explorers carried the seeds across the ocean. They arrived in Europe and in Italy, especially in the regions of Veneto and Tuscany. They found ideal conditions: a mild Mediterranean climate and fertile soils. The borlotti variety emerged thicker pods, greater tolerance to variable weather, while the seeds retained their distinctive red and cream mottled appearance. From the small fields of poor farmers, it spread as a symbol of cucina povera, rustic cuisine sustaining the poor through long, harsh winters. It was not chosen by chance. It was chosen for survival, from the unforgiving Andes Mountains to the warm meals of long Italian winters. And for centuries, it waited quietly, carrying ancient knowledge that we gradually forgot. If it must be named accurately, what cranberry beans carry is not nutritional value, but survival capacity compressed into a single bean. When dry, 100 grams of these beans contain about 23 grams of protein, nearly equivalent to the protein content of lean beef, but with absolutely no cholesterol, no significant saturated fat, no need for livestock systems, no ecological burden like animal protein, and only about 1 to 2 grams of healthy fats. This is a clean, easily absorbed plant protein source, ideal for those who want to reduce meat consumption while maintaining muscle mass and energy. When cooked, each cup of beans provides 18 to 20 grams of fiber, accounting for more than 60 to 90% of daily requirements. This soluble fiber slows digestion, stabilizes blood glucose, prevents sudden spikes in blood sugar, and creates long-lasting satiety, extremely useful for people with diabetes or those aiming to control body weight. Notably, cranberry beans stand out for having one of the highest folate vitamin B9 contents among legumes, up to 366 to 621 micrograms per 100 grams dry, which can supply more than 90 to 150% of daily needs. Folate is a foundational micronutrient for cell division, blood formation, and healthy fetal development, something humans once obtained from daily meals before turning to supplements. Beneath the mottled skin lies a quiet but resilient mineral complex: iron for blood, magnesium for nerves and muscles, potassium for cardiovascular function, copper for energy metabolism. Natural polyphenols contribute to anti-inflammatory effects and cellular protection, not as a dose of medicine, but as a biological baseline built over time. These capacities do not exist in isolation. They connect into a chain of benefits that ancient communities experience through their bodies: reduce bad cholesterol, LDL, thanks to fiber-binding cholesterol in the gut. Stabilize blood glucose, lowering the risk of type 2 diabetes. Support cardiovascular health, lower blood pressure, reduce inflammation, improve digestion, nourish beneficial gut bacteria, prevent anemia in low-meat conditions. Born in the harsh Andes, cranberry beans are more drought-tolerant than many other legumes, requiring significantly less water than meat production, often only a small fraction of the water needed to produce equivalent protein. They also fix nitrogen from the air, restoring depleted soils, turning poor land into fertile ground without chemical fertilizers. This is not just food, this is a preventive medicine factory growing from a speckled pod, a gift from nature carrying ancient wisdom, abundant protein, balanced nutrition, and the ability to survive in a world that is becoming hotter and drier. And then the cranberry bean, or borlotti, entered its golden age right inside the modest kitchens of Italian households. From the 17th century to the mid-20th century, it became the true backbone of cucina povera, where people skillfully turned simple ingredients into filling meals. Beans were poured into a clay pot or stew pot, rinsed clean water added just enough not covering the beans, and then time did the rest. No written recipes were needed. Everyone knew cook slowly over low heat and let the beans release their own flavor. The most iconic dish was pasta e fagioli, the legendary bean and pasta soup, a rich broth from slowly simmered borlotti beans with a little tomato, onion, garlic, herbs, and a handful of short pasta. During harsh winters in Veneto, Tuscany, or northern Italy, when cold winds cut through the skin and harvest failed, this pot of soup did more than fill the stomach. It allowed people to survive the winter and work a full day. Cranberry beans nourished millions of poor people and kept communities healthy. No one measured blood glucose or named cholesterol, but they recognized what mattered more. Eating beans meant staying full longer, working all day. Children grew steadily. The elderly felt less fatigue, and the flavor unforgettable. When cooked, the beans become velvety and creamy, melting in the mouth with a mild roasted chestnut sweetness, the broth deep and aromatic, needing only dry bread or a slice of raw onion to become a complete meal. Many compare it to the pinto bean. Similar, but cranberry beans are creamier, nuttier, less beany, with a beautifully caramelized broth glowing golden brown when slow cooked. From small Italian fields, this bean spread like a warm network to Portugal, Feijão Catarino, Greece, Fasolia, Turkey, Barbunya, and other Mediterranean regions. Each place adapted it in its own way. Simmered with pancetta, added tomatoes, or simply stewed with olive oil and garlic. But all shared one principle: cook slowly, eat slowly, and let the bean fulfill its role. But then that golden age gradually faded. Not because the cranberry bean or borlotti failed, but because the world changed, and that change no longer had room for demanding bean varieties. After World War II, European and American agriculture entered an era of large-scale mechanization. Harvesters, tractors, and canning lines required everything to be uniform, ripening at the same time: hard pods, low-growing plants, no climbing. Soybeans and kidney beans became stars, bred to fit machines, easy to harvest at scale, easy to store, easy to export. And cranberry beans. They were a nightmare for the new system. The seeds ripened unevenly, some pods already dry, others still green. Thin pods shattered easily if left too long, spilling seeds onto the ground. The plants climbed high, tangled, wrapping around maize or stakes, impossible to run harvesters through without destroying the crop. In a system that prioritized speed and volume, borlotti was labeled inefficient, hard to control. Governments and agribusiness poured massive subsidies into monoculture, planting a single variety across thousands of hectares: soybeans for animal feed, kidney beans for canned goods. Heirloom varieties like cranberry beans were pushed to the margins, surviving only in backyard gardens on small plots of traditional farmers or in specialty markets for connoisseurs. They were tagged as old-fashioned, not commercially viable. The irony is sharp as we lost genetic diversity. Ancient bean varieties carrying resilient survival traits. The very industrial, efficient varieties demanded more water, more chemical fertilizers, more pesticides. The system did not choose resilience. It chose control. It chose short-term profit over long-term survival. And within just a few decades, the cranberry bean nearly disappeared from large fields. From a symbol of humble nourishment, it became a relic, a seed buried under the soil of progress, leaving a void we only began to notice as the world started facing crises our ancestors never imagined. Look at today's reality rates of metabolic disease and type 2 diabetes are exploding globally. Millions of people rely on expensive protein, powders, synthetic supplements, and supply chains stretching thousands of kilometers filled with chemicals, plastic packaging, and massive carbon footprints. We spend billions of dollars to supplement what the body needs, while forgetting that a simple bean can provide complete plant protein, abundant fiber, and natural folate far more efficiently than processed products. Modern research confirms regular bean consumption, including borlati/cranberry beans, helps reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes, improves glycemic control supports, cardiovascular health, and even reduces chronic inflammation core components of metabolic syndrome. The soluble fiber in cranberry beans slows sugar absorption, preventing sudden glucose spikes, while natural protein and minerals nourish the body without placing stress on the liver and kidneys like some industrial protein powders. While meat and animal protein production consume enormous amounts of waterland and generate greenhouse gas emissions, cranberry beans require far fewer resources. They are a true plant-based option, high protein, low water, low land use, and fully aligned with regenerative agriculture, increasingly adopted by heirloom farms in the United States, Italy, and Mexico. What will you choose? On one side is ready mixed protein powder, industrially packaged, shipped long distances, full of additives, fast but disconnected from nature. On the other side is a cranberry bean, slowly cooked in a crock pot or over a flame, soaked overnight, gently simmered until the broth becomes rich and caramelized with simple seasonings like onion, garlic, and herbs. Eat slowly, savor each spoonful, not only filling the stomach, but reconnecting with natural rhythms with the land with ancestors. Health and sustainability do not lie in capsules or cans of powder, but in simple things that have existed for a long time. The cranberry bean, a dormant seed, waits for us to realize that amid modern storms of climate change and disease, what we are seeking is not something newer, but a more appropriate pace. When we slow down eating, slow down cooking, and choose foods designed to conserve resources, we do not only reduce pressure on the body, we reduce pressure on the entire system. In the 2000s, as climate change began to pose serious threats, the world turned back to look again. Small farmers in Italy, especially in Umbria, Veneto, and Lemon, continued to preserve heirloom varieties in their home gardens. In the United States, heirloom collectors, such as Rancho Gordo, Steve Sando, brought cranberry beans back into the spotlight. They sourced, preserved, and sold high-quality seeds, turning them into a symbol of the heirloom bean movement. Seed saver organizations everywhere, from indigenous communities in Colombia to regenerative farms, began planting the ancestors, collecting seeds from old jars from elderly women, telling stories and replanting them. Scientific trials from the 2000s onward confirmed what ancestors had long known: cranberry beans tolerate heat and drought far better than many modern varieties. Research on Phaseolus vulgaris shows that some borlati lines maintain stable yields under drought stress, while also improving soil through nitrogen fixation. It does not merely survive, it restores exhausted fields. Chefs also rediscovered its appeal. It became a star in soup, salads, and stews, coating pasta or vegetables with a broth rich in folate and anti-inflammatory polyphenols. Italian-American restaurants, the farm-to-table movement, and sustainability-minded chefs use it to create high-end plant-based dishes. From this, a broader movement took shape: regenerative agriculture, diversified planting, reduced inputs, selective breeding to transfer climate resilience into other bean varieties, expanding durability across the food system. And this revival does not require large-scale or complex techniques. You can easily grow it at home, start seeds early in trays or rolled paper tubes, especially if you live in a region with cool springs. Use just one bean per cell, press it into the soil to a depth about twice the thickness of the seed, and keep it minimally warm. Within 2 to 3 weeks, seedlings will emerge vigorous with sturdy stems and deep roots. When the weather is stably warm and frost-free, transplant them into the garden. Borlati prefers warm, well-drained soil. It thrives in raised beds or no-till gardens. Because it is a climbing plant, provide trellises, A-frame supports, or wigwam structures from the start. Do not wait until the plants are large. Full sun, regular watering, but no waterlogging. Throughout the growing season, the plants will climb slowly, produce small white flowers, then set pods in waves. Do not worry if the pods do not mature all at once. This is not a flaw, but it's nature. You can harvest them fresh or let the pods fully dry on the plant when the shells fade in color and the seeds harden. At that point, simply shell them, dry them further, and store the beans in jars a winter already prepared. If you want to save seed, choose the most beautiful, healthiest pods for next year's planting. Borlotti is generous. Just a few plants can supply an entire kitchen and enough seeds to sow again. As droughts grow increasingly severe, scorching vast corn and soybean fields, as temperatures cross a threshold that modern varieties cannot tolerate, the cranberry bean still stands firm, green, and vigorous with pods fully set. This knowledge was never lost. It was only ignored, buried beneath layers of short-term progress. Now is the time to recognize that the answer has been there for 7,000 years, resting quietly inside red and cream-speckled pods, waiting for us to plant again, cook again, and remember again. If this vault has stirred something in you, a trace of regret for what was forgotten, a trace of hope for what can return, then take action today. Subscribe to Forgotten Flora Vault, ring the bell so you do not miss out like this video, and share it with people who care about sustainable food, natural health, and the future of the planet. Every share is a seed planted, helping preserve forgotten wisdom, helping the world remember the gifts nature has long provided. The next vault is about to open. We will continue to explore plants that were buried but are still waiting for revival. Thank you for being here. Let us remember together and plant again together.